Nej, det var ikke den. Yes, and I'll just say welcome to Lab Time. And yeah, today we're gonna have a look at RAW. And what is RAW? First of all, it's a new plugin in Ableton, audio effect. It's a distortion module. Finally, there's a distortion module here. Before we had, let's see here, we had satur, just a saturator, and none of that. We can see RAW is right here, so everybody kind of knows the saturator, and RAW does that almost the same way, just very much in depth. So if we take this and we'll just have, let's start with just a drone. Let's see what we can get out of the drone. So first of all, we have this going on, and if we zoom into to RAW, what we see here is the first thing we have is the drive, but this is not kind of the distortion. It's a signal before it goes into the into RAW, the distortion module. So this is the input signal we can drive. But you can also see right now that when I pumped it up, something will happen here, even though the amount is not turned up. So it's still the incoming signal. Let's double click that again so it goes down. So this is the kind of a distortion on the input drive. And what we can do as well when we open up for it, we have this tone. And the tone is kind of a, it does, well, it's easier to show on a drum sound. But what it does, it makes kind of a high pass on the signal and then attenuates the low end. So it kind of isolate some of the low ends, so they will be more snappy, and vice versa the other way, it will concentrate on the sub instead. So now you can see now it starts to do something, and we can control the frequencies for the low end of the tone. So we have this color effect, you can call it that, and you can control the kilohertz of the signal. Up here we can turn this around, so now it's the bass when it's upwards and downwards, so it kind of reverse it. The cool thing about RAW is actually the routing system. Right now we have just a single stage 1 distortion, so this is a general distortion of the whole sound. But you can see when we click this, we can go in serial, and we have this little picture that now we can actually blend how much we want of the 2 stages. Now we have 2 stages up here. You can see if I click single one, that disappears. We have parallel, so they would each get a different distortion at the same sound. And then we have multiband that I'm personally favor of, because now we can actually control the high, mids and lows, and you can see this sound doesn't have any highs, so nothing will show up here. If we will take it over in the drums, let's try and take that off just to make this little. So now you can see everything down here has the high, the mids and the lows. Let's just take it out so it sounds. And now you can actually hear when we boost it. So it kind of isolates the bottom and take the high in focus. And now we can see if we turn it around, it will take some of the low end as well. But now if I turn it off, just by doing this, without even touching some of this, how much beef it gets to the sound. And here we can control the low and the high, so and the thing that's in the middle is, yeah, the mids. So how low it should concentrate on the highest, how much that should be, and then in the middle, the mids would be what's between these two. So if I double click again, so this is normal sound. So now we're in multiband, and I'm not going to show everything that it can do because it can really do a lot. So let's take it back to the drone, and let's hear how that sounds when we crank up without the input drive, but just the amount. And you can see what happens, or hear what happens to the sound. So this is the low end, that's a bit much. So we have a bias that can control where the sound of our soft shaper should be, so we can take that up. Now you can see there's no sound. Now it starts where you get the corner down here. And so you can control where it should be. And again, if it's not loud enough or too loud, let's say we want this sound, now you can see it will go in red over here. So we can actually take the level down on each band. So we can distort it a lot to have this gritty sound, but not oversteer. And then afterwards we have a filter, so we still can control the sound. So now we can just, and then we can have pre, before, that's the sound before. We also have in the filter section quite a few passes. So low pass, band pass, high pass. We have a notch filter and a peak. The peak, you can see if we take the peak. And remember, this is only at the bottom we're concentrating. We have mids and high. And what we also can do when we have this multiband, if I zoom out and take the peak down a little bit and take this a little bit down, we can take this little, you can see if the mouse here, click that, and this is where it really opens and shines, and we can, it's too large, we can just, but I like it to have it in full, so we have full control. So now you can see this is the low band, mid and high. So what's going on here is that if we open up this one and we have the modulation, we can see envelope here. If we click envelope, we have all these parameters we can adjust, and this is for an envelope follower. So it takes the signal out. Again, that's easier to see when it's a drum, when you have a lot of peaks that we can control. But this is nice as well, because if I want to take the envelope follower or the fill 2 or 1 or the noise, then every time I say, okay, I want this something on here, because you can see there's actually coming a bit of sound through the mids. So I want to change that maybe with the noise. So if I click the amount, now I can see over here it highlights what I click. So I know in my my matrix what I will put in. Let's try and put in a LFO, just LFO 1, and then we have to gain this up a little bit. Now you can see it starts to go. We can also try the noise, give it full. And if we don't want to hear this, we can just set the shaper off. We still have the filter going on, and we can also just turn off everything. So now we have this. We can also set it on sample and hold, or brown noise, wander. And let's try and take this as a comb filter. Take the resonance all the way up, and see if this is not the right sound to do this, but then we have like a comb filter. Let's just turn this on again. Let's try and put it on the drums. Let's hear it. And if we open up now we can see we have this where the snares and the top of the kick is. So now we have this sound, and we can actually let's find the sweet spot I just found. Right here. Yeah. That's and again we can drive it all. So what we also can do is, right here you can see, if I zoom down here, we have this feedback mode. So if we go into here and say we want to have it synced, we can have, for the feedback, a delay on it. It's only on the feedback what we give it. If we crank it more up, so now you can hear it will fade out a little bit. It's because it has this down here, so it will kind of fade out the sound. If this were, now it will just keep on going without this, but this is kind of a safety net with this one. And then we can, for the feedback, we can also phase reverse it onto with this one, and then we can control which frequency or width and it's a bandpass filter that's applied here. So yeah. Bit too much, but it's kind of nice. And again, you make these cool things. And next to that, you can see there's a compressor as well, so we can actually compress it. And there's a down here. So if we close this, so this is kind of like a sidechain high-pass filter that we can apply. And then we have an output and a dry wet. And that's kind of the basic of the distortion module. But in my opinion, that's really what we've been missing all this time. So let's try and put this, no, just a new one. Turn that off. And the cool thing also here with this, let's just solo this again. So instead of this, we can actually have it on note. So I know it's, if you see up at the top here where my mouse is, it's a C minor. So I know I made this chord in a C minor. So we can just have this tuned to a C. So this we get these growly sounds out of it. Something like that, and then like these small little cool sounds. So let's try and put raw on here and to see what we can do with this. Again, I'll try to do this with the sync. And then just try. So make this. Let's try and take a band pass and let's open raw up and say, okay, the band pass filter here, I want to change it with the envelope follower. And then give it a little more amount. And let's try something crazy like this one. So we get this transient stab, or we can try this noise injection. Or this one. And let's take the rate. Let's have it to go really slow. And then take the amount here on the first. It'll get more applied. You can see over here by the close it down. And then we have a dry wet, so you can actually, because we have the feedback up here, so we can have this not have effect, so we can just mix in the signal if we want to. Again, over to this one, we can mix this signal in. Yeah. Do you have any question?
I thought about last time you showed me. Is there a way to like control the level output?
From this,
Yeah.
like dynamically?
Like just, you know, when you turn up the amount.
Yes.
That it will.
Kind of. Well, what you can do is sometimes the output here would get too crazy if you turn it up too much. So what we can do is that we can group this and then open up the macros, and then let's say if it's this amount, map to macro 1, and then the output map to macro 1. And now we have to go into the mapping here, and then these have to be, so this has to be 0, so we can't go over 0. And this is, well, it has to be turned all the way down, and then this has to be at 0. Or the other way around, I'll check. So when we do this, yeah. But let's not have it at minus 48, just let it be to maybe 20. So now you can see when you can check the output. Let's zoom in. Here, when this is full, it will turn down so it's 20%. And when we take the amount off, it will turn up the output here. So I just reversed it, so it will open up and close. So let's have the dry wet full. And you can set the amount up there by map, so how you would fit it, you know. So this one I would probably go to 50%, and then 100 on this, and then maybe not even minus 20, like that. So now it won't like go crazy on you. But the good thing about this distortion module is that we actually have a safety net by the compressor as well. So it will catch it though. And if it's too loud, let's delete this and put raw in. And let's say we want to, now you can see there's a red line here. So you know it's oversteering down at the output. Down at the output, you can see down here there's a red dot blinking. That's when it starts to get pressured too much. So it will tell you some small stuff that helps you. But like that way you can do that. And now you can go home and watch the video again how I did it. So yeah, any more questions? No? Then I will say that's it for me today. And this was raw, and you can look forward to when it comes. It's a really nice module, and I've grown into loving it. And it's really up there together with all the big VST's distortion modules as well. I think this is actually better, and it sounds really nice. And the good thing is the CPU is low on this compared to some of the VSTs. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. See ya. Bye.